Hello, welcome to another video. My name is Anna and today I'm gonna be your host. I literally just hopped off the shower and I put on some makeup and we're gonna talk about Silver Swan by Amo Jones. This book I read, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks, no 2. I listened to it 2 weeks ago on Audible because I was gonna go on a field trip with my mom and one of my aunts and my cousin because we're going back to their hometown because it was one of our aunt's birthday. I read this book in like one go. It's a wild ride. The Goodreads reviews are like 12,000, so this video better get 12,000 views at least. I'm kidding. Anyway, from the get-go, I want to say that I gave this book 3 stars because I thoroughly actually enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it in a way that you would enjoy the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, for example. It's just a good book in essence because it's just filled with drama and suspense and mystery and sex. I'm just saying, I mean, it's like it's a very particular story with this book. It's, you know, the overall summary is basically Madison Montgomery. She has been transferred to the Hamptons, to a private high school in the Hamptons, and as soon as she walks in, she has caught the attention of the Elite Kings Club, which is this club of 10 boys who just like rule the school for some odd reason, and that whatever. And it's basically about that, and it's about mystery and about drug dealing, which is very questionable because the only drug dealing we got was like they smoked pot, which I don't really consider much of a drug. Alcohol is more of a drug than marijuana, like, to be very honest with you. This one snort of cocaine that one of the guys had, or like 2 snorts of cocaine or something, like it was not that bad, and it was like underage drinking. It wasn't that bad. Like this is an adult book. This is a new adult book, so I feel like Amo Jones could have played around with that a little more, but I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. I'm not talking about the book yet, although like I don't have a script prepared. I wanted to have a script prepared here, but like I kind of wanted this to be like a sit down and talk video a little more than it's normally a scripted video, because I feel like when I script videos it's kind of boring to watch because I have to read it off the screen and then I kind of recite it. And no, like in real life I'm much more animated and I'm much more like I say things that I say and I ramble on and on and on. And I kind of wanted this video to be a little more like that, a little more transparent. And if you give me the chance to. Let's start with the rant review on this book. I wish I could drink my tea, but I put on some lip gloss. So we start on because Madison is being transferred to this new school in the Hamptons. And the thing that got me into the thinking of I have to make a video about this, or I have to at least like write a review on it, was that within the first minute of me listening, I had a problem with it. And I knew that this book was the kind of book that I wanted it to rant about. Not because it was going to be bad, because like it was obviously not going to be a masterpiece, but I just knew it was going to be fucking ridiculous. And first chapter, and I actually I think I downloaded the book so that I could, oh my god, I am so ashamed of myself, but like not really. So we start off and then the girl, she gets into her first class, into the classroom, and then people start gossiping about her, and that's the exposition of Madison's backstory. It was just so ridiculous because it was just like, this is some whispering. Madison Montgomery? Isn't that the girl whose mom murdered her dad's girlfriend before killing herself? Are you sure? She seems so much prettier in the newspapers. Like, shady girls. Okay, whatever. No, that's definitely her. Her dad is loaded too. They're from old money, and her mom was a bored housewife who caught her husband cheating, so she stabbed the woman to death before shooting herself in the head with Madison's shotgun. Her shotgun? She owns a shotgun? Ew, better stay away from her. She might be as crazy as her mother. Like, that's the exposition. Like, basically, I don't think people actually speak like that, and if they did, I feel like the teacher would break them up. Whatever. Okay, that was just like that was ridiculous. So I was like, I have to talk about this book. Can you see why it's ridiculous? Like, no one is gonna talk like that, and that was obviously just for us to know like why she was in the new school and why she got transferred, and a little bit of her backstory. And it was very intriguing. It was gripping, and I was like, excuse me, like who did what with the who of what? I was invested, but I was like, that's the cheapest resource you could use. Next thing that happens is She goes out for lunch out of the building. Like, she sits on the stairs to the building, and then there's this girl, Tatum, who comes up to her and says that they're gonna be best friends. And that's the second thing that got me thinking this is gonna be fucking ridiculous, because this is a trope of manic pixie dream girl coming in and adopts the brooding main character as the best friend. And like, I don't have a problem with that trope if it were executed well. I actually like, I love that trope. I love it if it were executed correctly. But like, this was, she literally just like walks up to her. The conversation goes like, "Hi, are you Madison Montgomery?" And she's like, "Yeah, like, you don't want to sit with me." "Oh yeah, I know everything about you." She recites a Wikipedia page of everything. Like, "You're Madison Montgomery, 17 years old, your dad, blah 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 blah." Like, exposition, second time, the same fucking thing that we saw. And then she's like, "You forgot about the part that it was my shotgun." And she was like, "I hope that wasn't true." And then they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it. You're gonna be my best friend." And like, that was it. And I was like, that was the quickest way to move the story forward that I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, there was no, we're not in kindergarten. I feel like in kindergarten, like, kids just walk up to each other and be like, "Do you want to play?" And be like, "Yeah," and they're the best friends in the world. That was basically this, but badly executed. So after that, like, I think they go back to the cafeteria or something, I don't know, but she sees the club, she sees the Elite Kings Club walking by, passing by, and then she asks, "Who are they?" And I was just thinking in my mind, is this Twilight fan fiction? Is this a calling clan? She has a rough day at school, whatever, and then she comes back to her mansion. And that was a problem that I kind of had with the characters. Like, we couldn't really relate to them at any level. It was kind of obvious I wasn't gonna relate to Madison because she's filthy rich. There are just like certain things that you can make a character be relatable or can entice sympathy out of the reader for the character. There was like nothing. I was not sympathetic of her at all. She was like a dumbass bitch. She was dumb as shit. Like, you have no idea how exasperated I was that she was so dumb. Like, we'll go back in there. Like, she felt like a Wattpad main character for fanfic. This felt, I'm gonna tell you from the get-go, this felt like a K-pop band. Oh my god, 17 adopted me in their mansion and I'm gonna live with them forever. Like, it was kind of like that. Anyway, we're gonna go back to this. She goes into her mansion and, you know, her father, he's a widow, obviously. He's a widower, and he married a woman who has a son who is Madison's age. But we don't know that yet. So she just goes upstairs and takes a shower in the towel, and then the stepbrother comes in. I fucking love that shit, but like, have feelings, because I love that shit. I love like the stepbrother thing for some reason. It was probably porn that conditioned me to think that step siblings was a hot thing. It was so weird, because the brother doesn't know what boundaries are and he was borderline sexually assaulting her. I feel like that in itself is a trope. The stepbrother coming in and seeing you in a towel in the middle of a shower or something. The brother has no boundaries. Like, he comes in and like, "Hey sis," like, that's the way that I imagined him. He's creepy as shit. Like, he's so creepy. And for some reason, the writer just like makes him up to be this kind soul. He's different from all the other elite kings for reasons that we will delve into later. Like, he's so kind to me, Madison. So kind to me, and like, why is he being so good to me? And I'm like, girl, he doesn't know any boundaries. He treats her like a girlfriend. There's like sexual tension, like weird sexual tension there. There's a scene later on in this book where these two make out, and I'm gonna have so much fun reminding you about it. It is super entertaining though, because it's just, something is always happening. We never get stuck in a scene or in a stage. Like, something is always happening. Like, every scene contributes to the story. Well, maybe it doesn't contribute to the story, but contributes to the fact that it's extremely entertaining. Parties, and there's drinking. That same night, I think there's a party, and that's where she meets all of the elite kings, and there's this one called Bishop who is like looking at her like, what the fuck are you looking at? You know what I mean? Like, if you could see my legs, which I'm glad you can't see because they're hairy as shit. Like, I haven't shaved in like 6 months. He's like, I also want to talk a little bit more about like Nate being so overly sexual. Like, the stepbrother's name is Nate Riverside, I'm pretty sure, and he's like overly sexual, and I feel like he's a caricature of what men are, because he's like always touching her and always putting his arm, hooking his arm around her waist and having sex with a different girl every night. And I'm super surprised though. I'm really surprised. At a time, this girl Madison walks into his room and he's like pounding into a girl, and I'm like, couldn't she hear him? Like, were the walls soundproof? Like, I'm genuinely interested, because when I talk on the phone or when I'm recording a video, my parents always ask me like, oh, who are you talking to? Because you can hear my voice like normally talking through the walls. I know that that mansion is huge. It's huge, I can imagine, but the rooms are kind of like right next to each other. They share a bathroom. Next point that I want to make, there is so much intrigue on the cult, because at this point I think that there's just been like so much going on. First thing, the guys are like kind of meeting in Nate's and Nate and Madison's house, which, by the way, like the dad and the girlfriend, the new wife, went on their honeymoon and just left them alone at the house. So like another trope right there. They have like a huge party, and then after the party they go car racing, I think, because that's the thing that like a criminal thing that the elite kings do. And there's also like a thing that this girl, I don't remember the name of the guy, but Madison kind of has this other love interest. I don't remember his name. A nice guy. He's also pretty deplorable, but he's hot. Like, all of these characters are so bad and so douchey that they're hot because they're douchey. I was with one of my exes for so long because he was douchey. Like, I found that trait very, very hot. Oh my god, I forgot to actually say it. I wanted to say, like, my main thesis of this video is just don't read this book if you're under 17 or under 16, depending on your emotional maturity, because I get that people are somehow more mature than we give them credit for. Fair thing though. A lot of times I didn't know what I was doing, and I made like a shit ton of mistakes and bad decisions that I kind of don't wish I hadn't done, like, at this point. But do you see so many teenage girls, or maybe preteen girls, because I'm still a teen and I don't romanticize that, but people who say like, oh, I wish I had a boyfriend like the after guy. What's the name of the after guy? Hardin? Yeah, I wish I had a boyfriend like Hardin. Or after 365 DNI was released, like that movie, which was an over 18 movie, almost a soft core pornographic film. I watched it and I felt like it was a Wattpad fanfiction made a movie. Like, straight up, it's the perfect Wattpad fanfiction made in the movie. Like, people saying like, oh, I want a boyfriend like Maximo, even though like that guy was a kidnapper and abuser and just toxic as hell. Hardin was toxic as well. Like, I would have fixed Hardin. Like, you cannot fix those kinds of people. Like, those people need to go to a therapist to work their problems through, because another person's not. It's like, I remember watched this TikTok. I don't know what the TikTok is, but it's like the girl who thinks she can stop the fight. Like, look at me, it's me. You know what I mean? I'm getting a little off topic, I feel like. Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue, because I think that like 2 or 3 days afterwards, Madison gets kidnapped. Nate calls her up and says like, hey sis, like, I need a favor, can you come pick me up? Like, I'm a little bit in trouble. And she's like, okay, sure. It's like 4 a.m. She had a sleepover with Tatum, and that's when they call, and she goes there with the car and her phone and stuff, and she gets out of the car. Like, she drives like for an hour or something to the outskirts, and she gets out of the car, and then the guys come out in like these dark hoods and put a bag over her head, and they put her inside of a limousine. I'm pretty sure it's a limousine. And then it's very entertaining because, first of all, the drama of the scene, second of all, the sexual tension of the scene, but it's also very disturbing because it was sexual assault. It's the 10 guys, and she's just like sandwiched, I think, in between two. And at one point, like, Vincent, I'm already calling him like by his second name. Oh my god, the close bond. Bishop, his name is Bishop Vincent Hayes. So like, Bishop, god, okay, he just like comes over and he's like, you're gonna talk. Like, they felt like she was lying because they were asking her questions about like, what do you know about this, why did you come over here, you know, because apparently there's this like dark secret surrounding her. He gets on top of her and he almost kisses her, and it's like, I was like so uncomfortable while reading that, but I was also like, if I were Madison, I would have like kissed him. Like, you have no idea. Like, that was That was the opportunity. If it were to happen to me in real life, I would probably just call the police. The writing style was also like super weird. It was so convoluted and so like there's so many gerunds in one single paragraph, which I felt was one single paragraph because it was like walking to my room, grabbing the keys, getting dressed. It was like a full minute were sentences that started and ended like that, and I was just so tired of that shit. There's also like this scene that she wakes up, I think, from the sleepover thing, and then she's like, my hair game is terrible, and then she goes on to describe how perfect her hair is. Like, I have silky brown hair that comes from my mom's Spanish heritage that reaches my tailbone, and it's like, okay, we get it. You have terrible bad hair, but your hair is fucking perfect. I feel like it's very obnoxious when characters talk about themselves like that. I wouldn't have loved for her to be self-deprecating about that too, but maybe find another way to describe it. I don't know, but she was like gushing about it, and I just kind of found it a little annoying. There's also like this thing, I'm like the fucking grammar police. There was this one line that I wrote it down because I'm like that, and she's like, unhooking the keys that are hanging on the hook. Unhooking the keys hanging from the hook. Like, do you see that there are two words there, the same two words in the same sentence? I was just over with it. After that, she goes to the school library because she said that she didn't have a lot of time to go there, even though she loves reading. And then she says that she loves reading. I was like, oh, I love reading too. High five, girl. And then she's like, my daddy buys me so many books. And I'm like, okay, we get it. Great. And she kind of feels pulled to this one book that is leather bound and it doesn't have a title, and she starts reading it over there in the library, and it's kind of a book that was written like 200 years in the past or 300 years in the past or something, about the initiation of this cult. It was this girl, Katsia, I think her name was, and it was her journal entry. Her suicide note is how it is described inside of the text, and it's just like she's telling like the birth of her sons and the birth of her daughter and how her husband is creating this kind of cult. She takes it home with her, and it's gonna be relevant later on, so just wait for that. Anyway, so I guess the love interest, the more normal love interest of Madison, this guy who's like he's a jock. Like, that's all I can say pretty much. He's like, hey, my friends and I, we're gonna go camping for Halloween. Do you guys want to go? At this point, she also meets this girl called Tilly, and she's gonna be very relevant because her and Tatum are the only two friends that Madison's gonna have along the way. But anyway, he invites them and says like that he's gonna go camping with his friends, which I didn't get why, if he was gonna go camping with his friends, suddenly there were no friends to go camping to, I think. Well, we'll get into that. I'm probably just really confused. At this point, there's like so much sexual tension between Madison and Bishop, and I think they might have hooked up. I think they hooked up. That was the first sex scene in the entire book, and I feel like this book needed more. Like, not more, but the next book definitely needed more sex. This book was fine. I feel like it was okay. There was too much plot though. For me, too much plot for the kind of book that I feel it was. Anyway, she says, yes, I love camping because I'm not like other girls. I like going to the shooting range, and I love that. I love reading. And so yeah, they buy costumes and they go. And she says that she's gonna go in later because she's gonna go to the gym of the school gym, and then she's going to go and take the book. And when she goes and takes the book from the library, the librarian says that she can have it, and then she's like visibly scared. It's so funny to me because Madison is a fucking dumbass. It's explicit. We're in a first person point of view book, and it is very explicit that the librarian keeps looking behind behind Madison's shoulders. She's like, yeah, take it, you know. And Madison is like, oh, okay, well, I found it weird that she was staring like that, but if she wants me to keep it, okay, I'll keep it. I don't know why she suddenly wants me to keep it, and I was like, girl, you're a fucking dumbass. Like, you're so fucking dumb. And we are going to go back to that later on. Okay, I'm loving this so far. Then she goes up in the car, and she leaves the car somewhere parked so that she has to hike up the mountain. She invites the elite kings, obviously, because she can't go anywhere without these guys for some reason. These guys who are fucking creepy as hell. But she invites all of the elite kings to this thing that her love interest invited her to, who she kissed. By the way, she kissed when she was drunk at a point. And she goes and then she receives this phone call with a riddle. I think she had already received a phone call from an unknown caller with a riddle, and she was like, "Who the fuck are you?" Blah blah blah. She is attacked by a group of guys who are all in skeleton makeup. Oh my god, who can they be? They're like 10 guys, and one of them is awfully close to me, and he's like saying Madison blah blah. I don't even know what they were there for, to scare her. But at some point they were still asking questions, and Bishop, he's got a knife in his hand, and he's like, "Every time you lie to me, every time I feel like you're lying to me, I am going to cut a piece of clothing, and then you're gonna be naked." And I was like, okay, the sexual tension here is real, but I was like, okay, I can't get hot over this because this is so wrong. At some point then she goes out running, and she runs, and she just like gets to the campsite, and they have a night where they drink, and then Bishop is like, "Hey, I need you to come to my tent." He eats her out and they have sex, and then they go back, and I am like, okay, why the fuck did anybody not hear them? Because they are in the middle of the woods. They are basically within a kilometer's distance of each other, and they are just separated by a fucking tent. So there's that. Oh, I also wanted to say something before. So at some point, Madison's really mad because Bishop kind of wants to make her jealous with this one other girl that she hates. She's like, "I'm all about women's sexuality and we should experiment. We shouldn't call each other sluts." And then she's like, whenever she sees this girl or whenever she sees like other girls, she's like, "Oh, they look like sluts. Oh, that fucking whore." And okay. There's a lot of slut shaming in this book. There's a lot of slut shaming in this book and hypocrisy, because she's like, "I'm all about women's sexuality and I have had sex before, and if you're a virgin it doesn't matter, but we have had sex." And we're like, oh my god, yes. But then she's like, she's a fucking slut, and that's so catty. Like, I'm not even gonna go there. I despised that bit. I was so mad at it because I have a zero tolerance. I genuinely have a zero tolerance on slut shaming, because I wouldn't want to be slut shamed because I've made poor decisions, and I wouldn't want to be slut shamed. I wouldn't slut shame anybody else, like regardless of the decisions that they've made of who they choose to sleep with. Like, why would you say somebody's a slut? Like, you have no say in somebody else's life, especially if you don't know them. I didn't like that at all. It was so bad. Anyway, we're gonna go back. I think this is it. I feel like I skipped a lot. Okay, can we sidetrack a little bit? Can we go back a little? Okay, I'm seeing my notes right now, and I did. Okay, there's not a lot of diversity in this book, which I could manage. Like, already I was more than halfway through this book, and there wasn't like a lot of diversity, and the only diverse characters were stereotypes. Like her nanny, I want to say, she's the one who drives her around and takes care of the house and stuff. She is black, and she's very stereotypical of a black person, I feel like. Also, the narrator, I don't know the way that I felt when the voice actress did an accent for the black woman. Like, she kind of talked like Shirley from Community. That's the way that the voice actress had it, and I don't know if it was from the director's part. At the beginning, she wasn't doing the accent, the manner of speaking, and then after like a few lines, she started doing it. So, and then the Italian character is like the chef. I think he's the chef. Or he does other stuff. He does like the technical stuff, like, you know, the man stuff. He's also very stereotypical, you know, he swears a lot, he just grabs whatever he can, he eats a lot, he's very stereotypical. And then for some reason, Amo Jones kind of decides to change his ethnicity, like in the next book, because in the first book he's Italian, in the second book he's Spanish. We're not done yet. So before the strip, oh my god, this is my favorite part. For some reason, this is my favorite part. So I don't know what they're arguing about or what they're talking about, but Nate and Madison start talking in the living room. Their parents just got back from the honeymoon, and at one point they kiss and they make out, and they're on the couch, and Nate is like on top of her, about to like take off her bottoms, and then like the dad is about to come in, and they're like one of my exes and I, when my dad was about to come into my room, into the television room downstairs. I feel like I'm doing TMI. I feel like I'm releasing TMI, but like, You know, this is a place of trust. Like, we can trust each other. I can trust you to know all about my problems. So yeah, she was about to fuck the stepbrother. I would have fucked him too, because Nate exudes hotter energy than Bishop, to be very honest with you. Like, Nate, my ideal bad boy. Like, he would be the guy that will fuck. Anyway, we're back to this thing here, to the camping. So we're at the camping site. Nate, at this point, he's kind of salty because he knows that Bishop fucked her. And Tilly is also very drunk. She says, like, I made a very bad decision, whatever. And she's like drunk out of her ass, like she can barely walk. Nate comes in and just kind of hooks his arm around her waist. And I'm like, dude, that's rape. Because Nate wasn't drunk. He wasn't high even. I feel like maybe he would have been high on cocaine, but he wasn't high on anything, or he wasn't drunk. And he fucked her. And I'm like, dude, that's rape. People under the influence of whatever cannot consent. People under the influence cannot consent. Because they're not in their right mind. I'm calling myself out. But it was very serious. It was so serious. But anyway, they spent like a week over there at like this hiking spot. Bishop and Madison fuck in the rocks, but they cannot let anybody know they're fucking. But for some reason, like, they all like jump and swim in the lake, and then they get like touchy in the lake, and I don't know why nobody saw them, because I feel like they weren't very, like, they were kind of close to each other. Then at one point they hotbox in a tent. Oh my god, I want to hotbox in a tent. The main love interest, who I still cannot remember the name of, wants to have her, and they start kissing. And so Bishop is kind of like this, you know. And there's Tilly and Nate. After everybody comes back from this hiking trip, Tilly and Nate become like fuck buddies. After they come back, like right after they come back, and like she takes a shower, she kind of sleeps a little, and Bishop calls and says like, hey, we need to go tell Nate that we're going, that this is an emergency, like pack it back for a few days and we're leaving. She goes to Nate's room and opens the door, and she's pounding into Tilly, and I don't know why she couldn't hear him, but okay, he's pounding into Tilly. He says, hey, we need to go, and he takes Tilly, and she goes, and they all go, and there's like this cabin in the woods, and he kind of explains that his father is looking for her because of some reason, and they have to like make sure that they're all safe. And they go onto this cabin, which is not really a cabin, it's like a mansion. At this point, we've progressed a lot with the book that she's been reading, you know, the suicide note, and we know that there's something called a silver swan, who is like there cannot be girls. The members of the cult cannot have daughters, they can only have sons. And if they for some reason are able to have, like, if they have daughters, they're supposed to kill them off. This guy is, I think he's called Humphrey. Yeah, I remember that when I found out his name was Humphrey, like the husband of Katsia, who was writing this book. I was like, oh, Humpty Dumpty, like the egg who was on top of the wall. Yeah, that guy. So fun. I'm sorry. Yeah. So his name is Humphrey Hayes. So I was like, okay, he's obviously an ancestor of our dear Bishop. Yeah. So they go there and they fuck. Of course they fuck. She has all these tools to find out that maybe she has something to do with this. Maybe that's why, like, there's a secrecy around her. Maybe Vincent. Oh my god. Maybe Bishop has something to do with this. Like, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. I don't know. She's got all the tools to be very wary about all of this. And then she's like, oh, is your father in the CIA? Is that like why has my dad made frauds in Las Vegas or whatever? Because Bishop says, like, is your father's in Las Vegas, so we have to get you here. You have really no choice because you're in danger. Her first reaction is like, and then she says Bishop for some reason looks relieved, and he's like, yes, the CIA. For me, that was like, oh my god, finally an excuse. And then she was like, okay, the CIA. And I'm like, what? Why is she so fucking dumb? Like, she is dumb. She's dumb. She is dumb. Like, I'm gonna cry because she's dumb. She cannot do it. It's just exasperated because can she not put together the pieces? Can she not be like a fucking... I'm so disappointed. I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed. Okay, moving on, because she said the CIA and she believed herself. She fucking swallowed her own words and she was like, the CIA. She fucking choked on Bishop's dick with the CIA. Okay. Still, for some reason, Madison feels like Bishop hates her, because I feel like, yeah, maybe this is supposed to be a haters to lovers. A third or fourth or fifth or 100th instance that she's a fucking dumbass. Like, Bishop has been treating her like a girlfriend. He fucks her, he hugs her, he worries about her, he sleeps in her room, like in her house, like he doesn't leave in the morning after. He calls her kitty, he holds her hand, he hooks his arm around her waist, because that's a something that Amo Jones loves to say. Hooks his arm around her waist. He's like, do you hate me? And I'm like, girl, he has been treating you better than most of my exes have in my relationships. Do you really think that he's not? God, I was exasperated. I was annoyed. I wasn't annoyed. I was maybe a little annoyed. But anyway, she's really surprised because he said that he doesn't hate her, and she's like so surprised because, okay, maybe like when like a while before that, he had said that he hated her several times, and that when he fucked her that first time after like the car racing event, he basically just hate fucked her, and that was what he said. But like, he has been treating her like a girlfriend for the past couple of days. Like, I am so like, I'm not having it. Like, I'm not having it. Okay, so she comes back after a little while of fucking and being there, and she goes back to her house. She tells Tatum, like, hey, there's this cave in this book that I'm reading. Bishop had shown me a cave in his old cabin, and I feel like we have to go and investigate. And Tatum's like, okay, you're so weird, but okay, I'm gonna go. And she drives her there, and Madison goes there, and she sneaks in there. Like, beforehand, oh my god, this is like so full of drama, because beforehand, like that same day when she's in school, when she goes back to school that Monday, there's a viral video circling around about her fucking the elite kings. Like, there's videos of her fucking Bishop, there's videos of her almost like making out with Nate. There's a video of her making out with Brantley, one of the kings who were like very standoffish and who obviously didn't like her, but they were about to pay fuck. There's this one girl who claims to have sent it around, and it's the girl, you know, who Bishop had at the beginning of the book, and that Madison was jealous of, who I cannot remember the name of this girl. She's very upset and she leaves, and that's when she tells Tatum, hey, like, there's this cave and I feel like we have to look at it. And she goes there, and she goes into the basement, and she sees all of the elite kings like in a circle, and the girl who claimed to have sent the video around with her head cut off, and Bishop's just like there with a satisfaction in his face because he has killed her, he has decapitated her, and she's like scared as shit, and she goes upstairs and she runs for her life. Her father is there, surprisingly. Her father is there, and Bishop's father is also there. And they say something about her being the silver swan. The guys already knew. She was the only one who didn't know that she was the silver swan. And we're like, what the fuck? So she ran, and then she said, like, hey, we need to get out of here. We're gonna run away. So that's what they do. They run away. They go to this library chick. And by the way, Tilly just completely flat out disappeared, which is kind of obvious to me that she's pregnant. And I haven't read the third book yet. Like, she's pregnant. She's obviously pregnant because she disappeared in this book, leaving no trace, and then the next book she's nowhere to be seen. I feel like she's pregnant. They go to this library chick, the girl who gave them the book, and she's like, okay, like, I know what you're going through, like, that's why I gave you the book, because I was feeling threatened. So he's just like a guy who gives fake IDs and new documents and stuff, and she's like, he's gonna help you run away. So that's what they do. They pay him, they get like cash out, and then they go, and that's it. And then the next book is them, like, at first They are in New Zealand, and Bishop calls and she has to run away. She runs away to London. She's almost raped in London. So Bishop comes in and saves the day, and there's just like a lot going on. The second book, we find out that her first time, which was kind of foreshadowed in the first book, which I actually applaud Amy Jones. Like she has good foreshadowings, that she was raped when she was a child, and that it was Brantley's father, and that's why Brantley never really liked her, because Brantley and her had to fuck when they were kids, because her father wanted him to, and it was just like really weird thing. It was this really weird thing. Bishop's ex-girlfriend, who's very, very mentioned in the first book, very, very prevalent and mentioned in the first book because she disappeared and she was like the only one who could get along with Bishop. They were like dating. She turns to be the one who sent the video, which by the way for me was pretty obvious in the first book, even though I didn't know she was alive. It was like, how the fuck would she send it though? But I knew it was her because in the video there's a caption that says you're gonna suffer just as much as I suffered or something. Just a lot of shit happens. A lot of shit goes down, and it was a fever dream. The second book was a fever dream. I read it, I listened to it the second time around, like when I had come back from my trip. I didn't write anything about it because I was just listening to it, and I was just not really paying attention. So I'm not gonna continue the series, unlike Victoria Aveyard's, because this one I did not buy. It was a very entertaining book, but it's entertaining in the same way as I've already said, in which watching The Real Housewives or reading fan fiction in that way, it's very, very entertaining, full of drama and intrigue and mystery, and the cult is very, very interesting. And I give it 3 stars, as I've already said. The second book I give it 2 stars because I wasn't very interested in that. So thank you for watching. My socials, of course, are in the description. A lot of links are in the description, so it's worth checking it out. I'm gonna end this video here. Bye.